Hey everyone, it's Chris Petri. Welcome everybody. We've got some really fun paintings here. We're going to create these, and the whole idea of this video we're going to cover is the ultimate beginners, the extreme beginners, someone who never started watercolor before, never picked up the pencils, never picked up the paintbrushes and the paints. We're actually going to cover that here in this video today. We're going to have a fun time going through the whole process of just getting started with watercolor. If you've never painted before, you never picked up the art tools, maybe you've watched a lot of videos, maybe you always wanted to and you haven't done it yet, this takes the mystery out of it. I just cover the basics simple. Within this next hour or so, we'll cover all the basics and of how you can just get started real simply, very little money. You have to just maybe buy some inexpensive brushes and some paints. You know, you don't have to spend probably more than $20. You just have to maybe spend $20. You can get brushes, you can get paint, you can get some paper, watercolor paper, and you're all set. You're ready to go. And then you can just find some pencils and pens around for drawing, getting your drawings down. Some just simple pencils with office pencils, or these pencils I get at the dollar store. I get a whole package of like 10 for $1. So you can find ways to start out real inexpensively, because you might not like watercolor drawing and painting. So if you don't like it, well, that's fine. You've only invested a tiny bit, but who knows, you might start out and you have a great time at it, and you'll realize, wow, you missed out on it all this time, but you want to start now and do it. So this is just going to be a fun one-time video for now. If I have enough people typing number 1 in the comments section, so down below in the video here, there's a comment section. If you just type in 1, you're just about to start watercolor painting, or you maybe have just started, maybe a week or 2 in, or a month, and you want a few videos here and there just to get you up to speed and get started with it, I'll be happy to create some videos maybe over the next coming months, maybe the next 6 months or a year, where I'll start covering maybe just 1 or 2 videos every couple weeks or so on doing some beginner style tutorials. So let me know in the comments section if you're just starting out. Type a 1 in there if you don't feel like leaving a long message. If you want to say, hi Chris, I'm just starting out, that's fine too. Maybe some of you just don't want to take a lot of time and start typing out messages. If you just type 1, then I know, okay, I have a lot, you know, I'll add up all the people that I think are interested. If you're typing in that 1 into the comment section below, I know, okay, a lot of people are looking to get that first couple you know, videos or so here and there to get started with watercolors. So if you're on the fence and you never painted before, it's real simple to get started, and it doesn't cost a lot. You can always buy more art supplies later, and tools and better brushes and all that kind of thing once you're up and running and you really like it. So what I'm saying is, you don't have to spend a lot in the beginning. You start out real simple, and we do some simple paintings like this here in this first video, so you can kind of see me do 4 different paintings, very simple. I go through each step of the way, how I'm doing it. I'm using inexpensive beginners type paints and brushes and paper, so you'll see all the basics of it if you want to start out in watercolor. If you've never done it before, if you're just starting out a couple weeks and maybe you're not having a great time of it, something's not going right, I'll cover a lot of that in this video. Okay, so please join along with this video, and also too, if you like the video, please subscribe, hit a thumbs up. But if you subscribe too as well, because if you think you're going to start maybe painting, you hit the subscribe button. This way you'll get our videos, because I'm painting many videos every week now. So you'll see videos coming out every week from me. And if you're doing the beginners videos, if I decide I'm going to start doing more of these, you're going to watch these and work with these, but also watch my other videos that I'm making all the time, every week, because those you'll just learn all the information about watercolor over and over and over again, and it'll really stick, and you'll really learn it quite easily if you just keep watching. That's the main thing. And then you keep practicing your beginners videos, or you just keep practicing along with what we're doing on a weekly basis. I hope you will, and I know you'll get better at your watercolors. And there's a lot of people that are emailing me their photographs of their paintings. They look absolutely phenomenal. So people that are on my channel are really progressing and doing beautifully with watercolors. It's one of the next videos, maybe in the coming months, I'll try to get permission from everybody to see if it's okay to put their paintings on my channel, and if it's okay, I'll start showing some of the students that I have on YouTube that are showing their paintings, sending them in emails, and they look phenomenal. So I know they're really benefiting from hard work and practice and following the methods and techniques we show here on this channel. So let's get started in just a second. I'll get my table all set up. Maybe we'll just do a quick, we'll zoom in here. We'll do a quick zoom in of each painting. So we're going to go in the same order we paint these. So I'll zoom in. This is first. We're doing a ship, a large sailing ship here. That's the first one. And then we're going to do a nice simple landscape tree there. That's the second one we're going to do. Some interesting colors, the grass, the fields, the distant mountains, a nice beautiful tree. We cover all the techniques, how to get all of these paintings done. So you'll see in a very logical, simple approach how I get everything done. And then the next is we're doing a cityscape. So we're doing a building, some beautiful colors, clay tile roof, the orange clay tile roof, plenty of blue sky there, some interesting roadway here, and some awnings and interesting colors. And then lastly, we do a beautiful pink flower. So we have lots of stuff we're doing here. We kind of show you how to do the shadows in the flower, how to get some really nice mix of colors of greens and blues to kind of just do some abstract looking leaf forms around the flower, and some splashing with your paintbrush real simply. So stick with our video here, watch it, and please let me know. Again, type 1 in the comment section if you're just starting out and you think you're going to like to learn more about just getting started with watercolors. Okay? All right, so we'll be right back and we'll get started. I'll get my table all ready to go and we'll get busy here. All right, is everybody ready to start? Are you an extreme beginner with watercolor? Well, if you are, this is the perfect time to just settle in, watch this video. It's not going to be an extremely long video. It's going to be just a quick little bit of time spent on saying, hey, you know what, if you're just starting out and you're not sure if you're going to like watercolors, or maybe you've been watching watercolor videos or on YouTube, and you never really went out and got a brush or anything, or thought about drawing, or pencils or pens or paints or watercolor paper, this is the perfect time to just follow along on this one. And if you're excited at the end, please subscribe. There's that subscribe button down there on the right hand side right below the screen here. So if you're excited about this video and you really like it and you think, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot, I'm going to try watercolor, then this way you can kind of follow along each week watching our videos as we create them on YouTube here, and you'll be able to learn all about watercolor just by watching our videos. We cover all kinds of material, every type of thing: oceans, boats, flowers, figure painting, portrait painting, landscapes, all kinds of cool stuff. So if you follow along each week, you'll learn just by watching. You don't even need to do any of the practicing. But if you wanted to start practicing slowly and getting involved in practicing, then you can do that on your along with us on our videos, or you can also just start working, at your own pace, at your own time, whenever you have the time to and whenever you feel like doing it. Some of you may not have much time at all to even start out and practice a little bit, but this would be if you have just a tiny bit of time and you think you might just want to start watercolor painting, this would be how to do it. It's real simple, and I called our video here today Extreme Beginners just because it's someone that's extremely new and beginning and maybe never painted, or you've never drew or paint before. So let's kind of go through a little easy step-by-step process. So the first thing I did is I thought, all you need is a pencil and a pen for your drawings. That's real easy. This is an office pen, and this is one of those pack of 10 pencils. They're retractable pencils, so you can push the button with your thumb on the back of the pencil, and then you have more pencil lead coming out, so you don't have to keep sharpening it. You just press the button. It's a retractable pencil. So I have just 2 drawing items here. Real simple. You can find these right around the house probably, without even a problem at all. And then the next thing I have was a very inexpensive watercolor paint set. This is actually a semi-moist watercolors. So these are kind of like gel type watercolors, and they're very inexpensive. I think these cost about $5. this whole set here, $5, and it comes with a brush too, so you don't even have to worry about it, about getting any brushes. It comes with the brush itself, and it also comes with a chart that tells you the colors. So in here, there's the chart, and if I can get that chart out, let me see. These come apart really easy too, so you can take apart the. This comes with your chart on the colors. So it'll tell you white, red, violet, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, brown, black. So you can have the colors, and you can use this. It'll give you the guide of what color each oval is in this set, and you have this set like this. Now what I did is I took my color set, and I use this actual set here for practice painting sometimes, for just practicing techniques and things, brushwork and so forth. So I took this set and I just did a little change to it. And what I did is I just took the paints, and you can take these out. These are really easy to take out. The paint pans themselves, they come out like that. And what I did is I just adjusted mine all so that I have all my warm colors here, reds, all the reds and oranges, yellows, and then transitioning into the greens, all the blues, and then over to the purples, and then back to the reds again. And then this yellow and white, white and black, those are kind of like on their own. They're kind of like, you know, individual colors I really don't use that much. I use them sometimes. Actually, I use black quite a bit, but not white really. But you can use white in your paintings. You can add white gouache and get smoke effects and all kinds of cool stuff. So this is just a cool little set you can buy, and what's cool about it is you can move around the paints in it. So that's why I did this, because I always set up my paints so that there's all warms on one side, and then they transition into the cooler colors like the greens and the purples and the blues. So when I'm working and mixing, let's say, a couple different warm colors like oranges and reds and yellow, they're all right here next to each other. Does that make sense? So that's just a simple way you can change around your palette a little bit. But you know, there's no harm in that. You just take out the paints like that, and you just move them around. You take them all out, you get them all organized, you start putting them in, and you put all your warms in one row, and then as it gets cooler, the greens, and you just go from one to the next. Darker red, medium red, orange, dark orange, light orange, yellow, brown, lighter green, darker green, and then the lighter blues, and then the blues get darker, and then you get into your purples and violets, and that's how I did that. So that's just a little bit of an upgrade that I did to my paint set when I got it. And I have one spare, and I use this one for now until I run out, and then I have my spare one for when I need it. And so that's pretty easy, right? You don't have to organize your palette like this. Some palettes you can't do this. Some palettes don't allow you to, move things around in your palette, but this one really is a great one, great for beginners. That's Prang is the name of it. Oval 16 is the brand, not the brand. The brand is Prang, and the Oval 16 is like the model number of this paint set. It can also be found under Dixon, and it's a Fila company, and it also says that it's produced in Heathrow, Florida. And there's also a phone number, 800. I don't know if I want to give out the phone number, but in any case, you probably can find this pretty easily online by looking around a little bit. It might take you some time, but you might find it in the art store too, or on one of the art supply places online. Okay, so that we have our paints here. So we'll do this. We'll take our paints, and we'll just get started by maybe we'll use our brush that we get with the set. And there's also inexpensive, for $5 you can get all these interesting other brushes. For just $5 you can get like 5 or 6 brushes. And we'll open this one up too, and we'll use a few of these. And remember, this is the extreme beginner. You're just starting out. You do want a couple different brushes. You just wouldn't want one, and especially they're very inexpensive. For $5 you can get all these beautiful flat brushes here. 3 flat brushes and 2 round brushes. This is a round brush here. So you can see that how that's a round brush there. And we'll open this up too. And I'm going to look for so we'll just trim this open, and we have, voila, we have more brushes. So this, at least you can start out and you don't have to spend hardly, it's very inexpensive in this to start with. So here we have our brushes here. They're on some double stick tape. Great design here on the packaging. These are Princeton brushes. These are the inexpensive Princeton brushes, but Princeton makes fantastic brushes. I have a lot of Princeton brushes in my studio. They're great brushes. You never go wrong with the Princeton brushes. Okay, so now we're unpacked. We're happy. We've got an arsenal of brushes, and we're going to use all these. Now you can see these are really cool. I have to get a darker background here so you can see the brushes a little better. Let me do this. I'll just do this for a second so you can see the different. These are synthetic brushes. So they're synthetic. They're really good for when you're a beginner. Synthetic brushes are better. They hold less liquids, which means you're not going to get out of control with too much liquids and water flowing over the paper. You're going to have a better time controlling your washes as a watercolor beginner, watercolor artist. So there you go. You can see the different sizes. 3 flat brushes and 3 round brushes. Okay, so I just wanted to, so you can see the brushes. And I'll put them over to the side for right now. And we have our watercolor paper. This is Strathmore watercolor paper. This is a beginner's type paper. And really gorgeous paper. Strathmore makes fantastic, all kinds of paper. Drawing paper, sketch paper, every type of paper you can imagine. Strathmore is a quality company, and they have very affordable prices. So if you're going to get some watercolor paper, Strathmore's great. You can get this online, probably for like $5 or $6 on sale. A big pad of this here. This is 12 sheets of watercolor paper, and we have that with us. Let's do this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest you do this if you're a beginner watercolor artist and you're just starting out. It's great to have some artist tape, some watercolor artist tape. Let me see if I can find. So I have another. Here I'm going to actually tape down my. I'm going to tape down my. With some masking tape. I just want to tape down my pad here so it doesn't move all around on us while we're painting. So I'm doing a little setup here. Since we're doing this video, I want to make sure it looks good. I'm taping my paper pad down to my table. And I got my table covered with some inexpensive sketch paper so that I can have a fresh, I can just change this paper each time I paint. This works good now. I've been tending to use this for the last couple weeks or so, and I think I'm going to use this from now on. It really is a good idea. I had to do that. Alright, so we're just cranking along here, having a good time. We're getting set up. That's part of the fun of watercolor. You have to take your time, enjoy it. You know, it's kind of like a little ritualistic thing here. We take our time, we set things up. We squish, we do some of this here, a spray bottle, a little spritzer bottle. You don't need to have this. You could just take a brush and dip it in water. So I have a little water pail. You can just splash some water on with one of your brushes. You can take your flat brush and just sprinkle some water on there. That's fine. And then maybe as you start to build up a little bit of your supplies, your art supplies, if you're just starting out, you don't want to spend $500 on all kinds of stuff. You just start out with a couple little items, and this might cost about $2-3 for spritzer bottle. You can probably get them in the dollar store for $1. I have actually. I buy my spritzer bottles sometimes in the dollar store. And there we go. We just wet the paints a little bit. Get them moistened a little bit. And then I was in the process of saying that I wanted to use some tape, some artist tape. It's got to be good artist tape though. You want to buy the good stuff. I would say they make great tape. You can buy this kind of tape in the only problem is they don't make it in white. So I would say, you just try to buy the best artist tape you can buy. Drafting tape works really well. Artist tape, drafting tape. This is Pro brand. Hard to find. So I'm going to take my watercolor paper. I'm just going to tape it off and make some sections. So you can do this on your way to when you're beginning in your watercolor journey and you're going to start doing some paintings, and you can turn it into almost like an art project. You can start with a piece of watercolor paper and then just make small boxes, and you can maybe just section it off into like maybe you can go right around the outside border like so. Yeah, this might be, you don't have to do this. This is if you have an extra bit of time and you're not too rushed, or if you don't have a lot of time, like if you have very little time to devote to starting out with watercolor painting, then I would say, you can skip this process of putting some tape on your paper. But if you have a little extra time, it'll make your painting process fun and more exciting, because when you're done, you're going to take the tape off and it's going to look like a painting or a framed painting already. So then what I might do is, I don't know how everyone is with dividing things, but if I went with 1/2 here, so I go half. Let me do 4. Let's do 4 sections, 4 first to start with. So we just made like a window frame. We went around the whole outside with 1 row of tape, like so. 1 row of tape around the whole outside, and then we just did a cross like a window pane, just one down the middle, halfway, and then another one halfway, like so. And that's all we have to do. And we'll have, again, once you see me finish up these little exercises, and we finish up these exercises together, or if you're just going to watch for now and you're not sure if you're going to start painting, this will be something you come back to. You can just remember, you can write down the name of the video on a piece of scrap paper, or you can save this video. Down below it probably has a little button that says save video. You can save the video and then you'll have it in your saved file in your YouTube channel, on your own YouTube channel. So let's continue on now. Let's say to ourselves, okay, what can I draw? Well, what can I draw? You can draw anything you want. You can go into any books. You can go onto any online. You can go online. You can find things online. Let's do a boat. Let's do a little, like a sailing ship maybe. So let's start out. Let's do a little sailing ship for fun. Just all I'm going to do is say, I'm going to take this area here and go around it with a pencil, like so. So you can see the area I'm working in, like that. Then I'm going to go about 1/3 of the way up the rectangle here. This is a rectangle. I'm going 1/3 of the way up, and I'm just going to draw a very light line, barely visible. That's going to be my water line. Then I'm just going to draw a sailing ship, and I'm going to draw it like, a little bit off center, not quite center. And you can do this very loosely and just have a good time with it. I'm just going to do the mast here, and there's some sails here, like so. Some more sails there. another there, a little bit of rigging, and that's it. There we have it. And you can do any version of this that you want. Maybe you're just starting out with drawing and you're not great at your drawing skills. Well, no problem. You could even take a scrap paper. You can take a scrap paper before you begin this exercise and try doing it a few times. Say, okay, there's the shape of the ship. And then there's the mast and some sails on the mast. Like that. Quick and easy. You don't have to fuss around too much. There's the water behind. That's all. And you can do a more simple version. Practice another one. Maybe just do one. A sail there and a sail there. And another one there. And then some ropes and rigging. There we go. That's it. Then the next time you draw it right on your watercolor paper, and there we go, we have it. All right, so that's simple. That's your first painting you're going to do. It's just practice. It's always practice. Whenever you're watercolor painting, always remember that. You're just always working on trying to do your best at each painting, and always practicing and learning as you go. Doing some rough practicing on scrap paper always works good before you go into work on your finished watercolor paper. And let's try our brush that came with our set. So I have a small watercolor container. This is about $3. It's a Holbein. It's made by Holbein. I think it's spelled Holbein is let's see if I have it. I have my pen here. Holbein is Holbein. Holbein, yeah, Holbein makes great water containers. These are collapsible water containers. They're plastic, they're really light, and that's what I use most times. Okay, and we're all set. You can use a glass. You can use a glass if you have, like a glass you're not going to use anymore, or a little coffee cup or something. You can use that instead. And so let's get started. Let's mix out some really exciting color. Look at that. Wow. Beautiful ocean colors there. We'll make this a nice, easy painting. No stress involved. Some darker blue colors here. Then we'll add in some purple. Then we'll take some brown. Kind of just add a little bit of brown. If we want to just make the colors a little bit, gray them down just a little bit, that might look better. And then I'm just going to start going in and adding some of that wash. Look at that. Looks good. And I'm just going to take all my wash colors. That's all you have to do. You just take your brush and you just wash on the colors like so. We'll scrub on that color. Let's make the water over here. And since the boat is going to be dark and the sails are going to be dark, you can paint right over the bottom of the boat like that. Okay, that's our water line here. Excellent. Then we're going to let that start to dry, and then we'll do our sky color. Let's get our clouds. Sky color. So I'm just going to use some of that darker blue and purple. Darker blue here. There we go. Some sky wash. Maybe a little bit of orange in there. Here we'll do something a little different. We're going to splash on some water first onto the paper. Clean water out of your water bucket. Clean water on the paper. Splash that on first. A little bit. Get some on the paper. Then go in and we're going to add some of our blue. And a little bit of the brown to muddy up that blue. And there we go. There's some sky color. Look at that. Have some fun scrubbing on that color. Get some blue up here, some darker blue maybe up in the corners up here like that. Maybe a little bit of that orange, just a touch of orange down here at the bottom of the sky. Look at that, it's coming together, it's looking good. Let's infuse some of the shadow of the boat. Let's use some green. Some of the green. And some brown. Brown and green for the shadow color. And that's just like this, a little bit of shadow underneath the boat. And then we'll put a little bit of shadows for the sails. Just a little bit of squiggly lines, that's all you need. Like that. Like that. Perfect. And then we're going to make the ship brown. That's the wood of the ship, brown. And let's make some black in there. Make it nice and dark, brown and black. A nice super dark brown. Mix in a little bit of that brown with the shadow. There we go. Look at that. Perfect. A little bit of blue, a little bit of splash. A couple splashes on there. There we go, I just made those shadows a little bit different there. If you have a little bit of too much water on your paper, you can always lift up a little bit with a tissue. You can always lift up a little bit of water. But you can see how much fun this is. Look at that. Then we're going to go with a little bit of red in the sail color maybe. We'll make it a little more of a reddish brown. So we'll add some red to the brown. I'll dry off a little bit of that paint so I'm not having too much paint on the paper. And I'm just going to do the... And you can kind of see it's... You might want to let the paper dry a little bit. So you kind of have fun with watercolor. If it's too wet and the paper and the paint starts to blossom out and cauliflower out, blot it up with a tissue and we'll let this dry. So let's let this dry. Let's take a quick break. How about we do that? How about we take a quick break and we'll come right back. I'll just use a blow dryer maybe to blow dry this off a little bit. The sky and the water and the ship area and the ship itself. And then this way we can keep painting. Okay, so we'll just take a quick break. And again, I always remind you, please, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It's down here on the right-hand side. Maybe some of you are just watching this for entertainment value because you've been painting a long time and you might not think you want to watch a video that's like for beginners, but this might be good if you know somebody also too that wants to start watercolor painting. You can share this video with them, you can tell them about it, or you can share it on YouTube. There's a way you can hit share, the share button down below, and you can share it with someone that might have been saying that they're interested in watercolor painting. And this is kind of just like a good introduction to a real simple setting up a nice, quick, easy, inexpensive setup for doing your watercolors. Okay? All right, so we'll be right back and we'll keep painting. All right, we're back, and it's super beginners, extreme beginners. Whether you're a beginner or you've been maybe practicing just a little bit, or whether you've been painting for some time maybe, and you want to share this with some of your friends or family or somebody you know that might want to start watercolor, it's a fun video to start with. We've been going through this video so far and just kind of showing slowly but surely how you kind of build up a little bit of very inexpensive items, a simple palette with some paints in it, a pencil or brush, some simple brushes. We'll use some of these other brushes we have. Very inexpensive, some good paper. You get it at a good price, a very inexpensive price. You can get some really good paper, watercolor paper, professional grade. And that's what we're doing here. We're just having a great time of it. So we're going to continue on here. We wanted to, we're doing the sails on our ship here. and we're doing some details, and we made the sails like a burgundy color. So we used some brown and some cadmium red looking color there, some red. And then we're just going to do the sails like that. Simple, quick. With watercolor, it's fun just to go fast and not get too carried away with too many details and suffering over things. Let's just get the basics of what we see, just like that. And this one here is a little bit higher. There we go. So we have our sails here, like that. We have some rigging and stuff like that. There we go, just a couple. And I think that's going to be good for our sailing ship. That's our first painting right there. Look at that. Beautiful. So you can see how we can just do a simple sailing ship like this, and it looks fantastic. We use some really cool colors, some blues, some greens, some purples to get our sky and our water. And then we did some darker, we call that darker tonal values, darks with a little bit of water, but mostly just the straight paint out of the set here, out of these pans, straight paint, not much water at all for the darker colors. And we did dry the paper when we did the light washes with lots of water. We had to dry that. You can either let it dry for an hour or two, or you can take a blow dryer and dry it off, and then you can start your darker colors with your ship and your reflections and your sails. So you kind of do the darks last, light colors first, and you dry your light colors before you go in and start doing your darker colors. It's as simple as that. And you'll have a ton of success if you just work it that way. A very simple method and technique. Light paint on there with lots of water and color first. Let that 100% dry. And then once that's 100% dry, whether you use a blow dryer or you let it dry for a couple hours or if overnight, come back, and then you put in your darker washes, your darker colors, the ship, the sails, the rigging, and the shadow and the reflections on the water, and you'll be all set. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here. Let's do another. Maybe we'll do this one different. Maybe we'll paint this one alla prima. So maybe we'll do something. All right, so maybe let's do a nice landscape tree, maybe a tree out in the countryside, a beautiful tree. Let's try that. So we're gonna go with let's do a simple. We'll take our pencil. We'll do another. I'll outline this next box here. This one here, we're going to do a simple tree. We're going to go with some landscape, a field here, a beautiful field, simple field. And then maybe we're going to do a tree over here. And we're just going to draw up some branches like that. So you just take the branches and go up. We'll do our branches first. We'll pencil sketch them in. And that's all. That's one tree there. And we'll just keep it simple. One tree. We'll do the branches and the trunk first, and then we'll work the other leaves last. And let's get some mountains behind that tree first. Then we're going to make the tree dark. So we're going to paint all these limbs and branches and twigs and things dark. So we can go like the same method here. We'll do some lights in there first, in the sky and in the field and in the hills behind there. So let's get into it now. Let's go in and we'll get some blue. So we're going to get some of this blue in here. Some blue. And we'll use some of this brown. Let's start looking at this here. See how this looks. All right, pretty good. Maybe some green too. We want some green in there for the hills. Maybe a little bit of this green too. There we go. Okay, so we just made some interesting hills here. Look at that. Very simple. Just a hill, a little bit higher on this side, and it just rolls down here and goes across. Perfect. Then we might make a field. Let's make a field here. Maybe we'll go with some greens. Maybe we'll make this more of a green. Let's try this. The green field here. That looks all right. That looks pretty good. There we go. Maybe we'll make it a little bit more yellow. Add some yellow to the green. Then let's even add more yellow. Look at that. So now we've added all kinds of different yellows in there and greens. There we go. And we'll go with a little bit of reds here. I'm just mixing in some warmer, a little bit of red in there, and it's still, the paper is still able to, we can still work on that color and add some different colors to that, which is a little fun extra thing you can do. If your paper is still wet and you just put this wash in, you can add a little bit of extra color in there into the hillside there. Okay. Now we're going to go with a light wash in the sky. Let's use these colors over here that we have. Like that. Put a purple in there. Again, let's add some fresh clean water to the paper. First, just to get some water on there, get that paper a little bit wet, and this way when we put that paint on, it's going to flow around and look really good. Let's try it. Yep, looks good. I'll put some darker up in this area here. Now we can grab a tissue. If you see too much water puddling on your paper, you can lift up a little bit of the puddling. But you can also bring that down and let it kind of wash on down. And I'll add some, maybe what I'll do is, if you have too many colors mixing in your palette, it's good to always keep the palette clean. Wipe up the paint so that we can mix some orange in here, and we'll add some orange here to this. And I stay a little bit away from that mountaintop there. And I just mix around that orange a little bit, like so. There we go. Now we have our sky in there. Perfect. Now, all we have to do is let this dry. We're going to take another quick break. We'll take another quick break and we're going to let this dry. I'm actually going to use a blow dryer, dry this off 100%, and then we're going to finish up our tree here in this scene. So let's do that. Let's take a quick break and we'll come right back. Okay, and we're back again, and I used the blow dryer and I dried off our second painting here on the right hand side. And again, we're doing extreme beginners watercolor painting, and this is if you're just starting out, and these are some ideas you can use when you're starting out. You know, we covered everything. If you need to watch the video a number of times, 2-3 times, to kind of get the feel of everything, that's what you should really do if you're just starting out. I mean, if you've been an artist for a while, maybe you're just watching this for fun, and you know someone that might want to paint for the first time or they haven't painted before, please send them the video, share it with them. You can also tell them about it and write down the name of the video, Extreme Beginners Watercolor by Chris Petri, and then they can start out and watch the video a number of times. Tell them watch it a lot of times until you get everything all set up. You get all your paints ready and you got your tools, you know, you got your pencil, your pen. We'll use a pen maybe on the next drawing here before we start painting. And you got your pencil, your pen, you got a palette with some paints. You have some watercolor paper, some tape, some artist tape, and we have a little bit of water in our water container. You can use a cup, a glass, a coffee cup, whatever. You can, but for very, very little money, very inexpensive, to set yourself up to start out with your watercolor painting. And again, you might be on the fence about this and saying, I don't think I have the talent, or I don't think I have the time. Hey, if you really like watercolor, make the time. Just do it. Once you buy these few items, all it is just putting it in a little container or box or bucket, and just, you know, have it all in one place, all your stuff, your pens, your pencils. You keep everything in one box, maybe a large shoebox, or, you know, a little small plastic milk crate. You keep everything in one location, and then when you're ready to paint, you just take the crate, put it down, take out whatever, you know, wherever you want to set up a paper, put a large towel on a kitchen table, or maybe a towel over your lap, and you sit in a chair, whatever you want to do. You go outside if it's nice out. Have fun with this. Have a great time. If you want to start painting, please do. It's a lot of fun. You'll have a great time with it. And it's just a little bit of practice every day, or once a week, or even whenever you have time. And you'll make a lot of progress. It's that easy, that simple. All right, so now we're going to show the simplicity of doing a nice little tree in this landscape type painting. So we did our boat and our sea. Now we're going to do I'll use some black here and some brown, and then some green too. Mix in some green with that. And then the key to this is having a tissue and blotting off some of the paint before you start painting the branches. Because if you mix up all that paint and then you have too much on the brush, it's going to be too much paint on the brush, and it'll go everywhere and make a mess, and you won't be able to get an accurate tree with the tree trunk and branches. So we're going to use this brush that came with our set here, and we're just going to take the brush and hold our hands on the I put my hand on the table securely, and then I just hold the brush securely, and then I just move my brush upwards like this. And then as the trunk of the tree is wider down here, it gets thinner as it goes up. So now I'm just going to do thin branches up here, and that's all you have to do. Just like that. And eventually you can buy better brushes that are thinner, so you can get thinner lines, but for right now, this will be good enough for you, I guess, right? I mean, I'm trying to keep it simple here, everybody. I'm saying there's other art supplies and brushes you can buy that are better, but you might want to save up for those. And practicing like this here, there's nothing more fun and relaxing. So I think we're looking fine here. Now once this dries, the branches, we're going to use some green, mix up some green, and we'll do some very light leaves. So I'm going to make some leaves with some brown, some yellow, some orange, mix in a little bit of red, some red orange, maybe some red. We'll go back in with some more brown. So I'm just trying to mix a good color here for the leaves. That looks pretty good. I don't use too much water, just a little bit of water and mostly paint. And then I take my brush and I hold it like this, and we just go in a circular fashion like this. And you can go up too. You can do up strokes like this. And look at that. There you have it. You leave some spaces in here. You don't want to fill it all up with paint. That's why I didn't use much water. You can see here there's not much water there, right? It's very little water, just mostly paint. And you just lightly hold the brush and do some upstrokes, and there you have a tree. A happy tree there, like so. And that's all you have to do. And then you have it. And then we might make maybe we'll make a couple seagulls or birds here, maybe in the distance, just a little couple. Like that, a couple more there. There we go. That easy, a nice simple tree in a landscape style painting. Are we having fun yet or what? This is extreme beginners painting. This is just, if you're just starting out, have fun, go for it. Don't worry about things. If you can always practice on a piece of practice paper first. So if you do buy some good watercolor paper like this, like we showed, you can still go in and do practicing. You can do your practicing of your trees. You do that circular motion like that on a piece of printer paper. This is printer paper, like that, and you get the feel for it first. Then you take this and you say, okay, I'm going to practice up on some trunks and branches, and you rest your hand down on the paper and you do your trunk of your tree like that, and then you make some other branches like this. And you just little by little you practice these different, like that. And then you go in and a little more green here. And you do some. There you go. So you can practice on printer paper first, as much as you want, and then when you go to do your watercolor paper, your better paper, then you're already practiced up on it, and you go in and you can do it a lot easier. Okay, maybe we're going to practice up on a couple more paintings here before we go in and do them, just so we kind of get the feel for that idea of warming up a little bit with your techniques as you're practicing, and trying to get the look you want for your for whatever subject matter you're painting. It could be anything. It could be a city scene, a cityscape. It could be mountains. It could be people. It could be oceans and beaches. It can be flowers, whatever you want to paint. It's the same idea, just the same thing over and over. Practicing it first a couple times on a scrap piece of paper, and then you go in and you do the final on your good watercolor paper, and you're well equipped to do it more effectively. Okay? All right, so we're going to take another break, of course. Let's take lots of breaks too. When you watercolor paint, always remember your best game plan is to take breaks as you work. Maybe you draw first, your pencil drawing or your pen drawing first. Then you wait 15 minutes, take a break, sit down or stand up and stretch, however you like to work, sitting down, standing up. Relax a little bit, and then you come back and you start again after 10 minutes. You take 10-minute breaks as you're going along. 10 minutes, you maybe work 15 minutes, 20 minutes, take 10 minutes break, work another 15 minutes, 20 minutes, take another 10-minute break. Then maybe you start up the next day and you work that same type of routine of getting yourself used to working and working with breaks as well. You want to take breaks. It really helps to keep your focus, your attention on your work. And usually when you take a break and you come back, you'll game plan a little bit before you start, and you'll say, oh, I think I know what I got to do next, and I need to do this and that and the other thing next. So when you take a break, you tend to game plan more, and you're more prepared when you start to go back in and do more work, which will help better. Because if you're kind of just working and working and working, you might not be game planning as much, and then you're going to miss maybe some things you could have game planned better, and it will make your painting look better. So I'm just sharing with you that little tidbit of information. I hope I am not being too stressful about this, but try to keep those things in mind. And again, let's have fun with this, of course. And we'll be back with oodles more of watercolor painting here, okay? I'm just going to take a break. Okay, we're getting back started again here. Let's get our palette cleaned up a little bit here. We'll use a paper towel with a little bit of water. I dampen a paper towel with a little bit of water. And I just wipe down the palette just to keep the colors nice and pure looking, clean looking. If we keep mixing the same colors over and over again, it tends to get a little muddy. And maybe our watercolors won't look as fresh looking and exciting looking with all the muddy colors in our palette. So that's why I always clean my palette. So you should do the same as you work. Once you work for a little while, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, just clean up a few of the pans. This one here is the black and the brown. We can leave that. That's a really dark color. You won't notice any muddiness if you're using a dark color anyway, basically, you know, if you're going to stick with that same color. But we're going to move on to another painting, so let's just clean all the palette. Might as well. I hope you're enjoying this. This is a really fun video. I'm glad to do this. If you're a brand new art student, watercolor student here, artist, and you haven't started your painting and drawing and painting yet, please let me know. Maybe you can type in a 1 if you're brand new at watercolor. In the comments section, all you have to do is just type the put the number 1 in the comment section below in the video. You'll see the comments. You just click, click on the comments. You click your mouse or your phone. You tap on the comments and you just type in a number 1. And this way, I know that there's how many new watercolor artists are out there that are brand new, maybe just starting out. Just haven't even gotten any of the materials yet, or maybe you just started, just the beginning. I'd like to know that, because I can do more videos like this, and I can create maybe just a special series of beginners watercolors for people that are just starting out, and I can just create those along with my other normal videos I do. So you can also subscribe down below on the right hand side, so you can see all my videos all the time. It's great to watch videos, just to get familiar with all the terms of watercolor, the vernacular, the names of the art materials, the paints, the brushes, the colors. The more you just hear it, and the more you're just watching videos, you're going to learn all this stuff, and it's going to really be a benefit to you in your watercolor. So always remember that. Does that make sense? The more you can hear over and over and see over and over all the things that are making up the art process, you're just going to be way ahead of the ball game. So let's create another painting now. Maybe let's do we'll do maybe a pen on the last one. So we'll draw with a pen maybe on our last section over here. But let's do maybe like a cityscape. Or maybe let's do like a building. Let's do maybe one building here. So I'm just going to go with, if this is halfway on the page, and I'll draw my outline here. Like that, so you have an idea. I'm using my pencil here. I'm outlining where the artist tape is, and we're going to peel this tape up, and you're going to see how good all of these paintings look. And I think I have to zoom out just a little bit. Okay, there we go. So you have a little bit more of a, you see my table a little bit more here. I might be able to do something that might look a little better. Actually, I'm going to leave it like this. You can see a little more of the art table and things, but this is fine. You can see this good. That's the main thing. So let's start out, and again, we're going to say, let's make our, we'll use this same format. We're going to make our building street level about right here, which is about a quarter of the way up the page. So we'll go about a quarter of the way up to the page, and we'll make our street level. And then we're just going to make a simple box shape for our building. We're going to make maybe like a square type building here. So I'm just going to do a square type building. And there's all kinds of cool art stuff you have out there that you can purchase. You can grab any old thing. Sometimes you can just use things around the house too for templates. Let's take a look here. Well, we're keeping it simple here. We'll go into some templates later. You can purchase templates online. But let's just do this here. This is, we'll make this maybe a 3-story building. First story is going to be a little bit taller. And then the other 2 stories are a little bit smaller. And then maybe we'll make it, maybe we'll make four windows across, and we'll make four awnings here. So we're going to make some awnings here. And these are some roundish awnings. And then we have the foyer areas, the doorways that go in to the building. Maybe a couple are windows and one is a doorway. And then we can make our windows above, just rectangles. That's all, we're just making rectangles here. And you can see I'm not fussing too much. I just want to get a rectangle window shape, and that's all. And I'm doing them right in the same line as, can you see that? I'm making the windows above in the same line as the windows below and the doors below. Let's say there's maybe 2 doors and 2 windows over here. Doesn't matter really much. We're just kind of talking about it. But we're just making sure we get the shapes of things correct. And these are the awnings. We'll make them striped. Striped awnings, those are pretty good. And then maybe we'll have a little bit, we'll show the side of the building a little bit here. And then maybe these are, you can barely see the windows over here on this side of the building. There we go. And then we'll do a little roof here. And this roof over here we really can't see too much, so we'll just leave that very minimal. We can see underneath the roof over here. And then maybe there's a chimney over here. We'll do a chimney and then maybe another small one here. So there you go. You see we have a nice building going here. A nice cityscape. And we got our street level here. And maybe we have some more street and curbs and sidewalks over here. Maybe there's a sidewalk over here. Some more street. And then maybe we have another small building next to this one. It's attached. And then maybe there's a couple windows here. Like that. There we go. And again, this is beginners, right? This is beginners. You're just having some fun with this. You try to get the shapes kind of similar. And what we'll do is when we're done, we'll zoom in to each one of these so you'll have a chance to and an opportunity to pause your video and maybe take a picture of each one as I go, or a screen capture, or you can pause and work from each one of these individually at the end. So maybe I'll leave each one of these up for like 10 or 15 seconds, and at that point you can hit pause and work right from your phone or your computer or your iPad or whatever you're using, your laptop, whatever you use to paint from. If you're going to watch this video, you can just hit pause and work from each one of these paintings. And again, please, I ask you please to, if you're brand new here and you want to see more videos like this, if you're brand new to watercolor and you're not quite even started yet, or you're just starting out, let me know by typing 1 into the comments section below, and this way I know, and then I'll do more videos and just like this and similar to this, beginner style. And not to mention, if you hit the subscribe button, that means if you let me know by typing 1 first off, and then if you hit the subscribe button, you'll be sure to catch all my new videos when I start doing more of these beginners videos, because if a lot of people type 1 in, that means I'm going to start doing more of these type of videos. I'll mix them into my normal video selection. So I'll just be doing 1 extra video every week, or once every couple weeks, or every week I'll add 1 more new video that's a beginner's video, but I'll still be doing my normal videos. So those of you that are just watching for fun here and you watch me all the time, I'm not changing my normal format. I'm just going to try to incorporate maybe a few more extra paintings of beginner style tutorials here, so that we can work with some of the newer people coming along. Okay, so I'll take a quick break now, and we'll come right back and we'll paint this next cityscape scene with a gorgeous building, a gorgeous nice red roof on there, red clay tile roof, and some beautiful shadows, and a nice color street here. We'll make some cool looking gray colors for our street in our asphalt street here. Okay, so we'll be right back, and we'll have tons of fun doing this building here in this streetscape, in a cityscape style painting. All right, we are back in business. We're going to start our painting here. Now with this one, we're going to maybe do a little bit of what we call alla prima painting, which means we're going to do the painting all at one time, and we're not really going to use the glazing technique. You saw how we used the glazing technique here, where we painted everything at one time. With a glazing technique, we used the glazing technique here, and I think we actually used the alla prima method here, where we just painted things as we went at one time. We didn't necessarily paint over the whole painting first and then let it dry and then paint over more darker washes over the top. So this one, we're going to take more of the same approach as this one, more similar to this one, just painting everything at one time, starting out with the darks, and then we go to the lighter lights at the very end of the painting. So you'll see how that works, and it'll work out really good. So we're just going to go in and we're going to mix some colors up. So I'll do the darks first. So maybe we'll get some blue. And if you have to, I use these gel watercolor paints for beginning. I use these for practice, and these are great for beginners if you're just starting out. Gel activates real quickly, so once you spritz it a little tiny bit with water, you have instant good color here. And I'm just grabbing my apron, putting that on. It's good to put on an apron if you are wearing some casual clothes and you don't want to get paint on them. You can always put a apron on just to cover your clothes a little bit, and maybe like an old towel or sheet or something on your table or wherever you're working, so if any splashes happen, you don't ruin any of your nice belongings. So we're going to use some blue and brown, and we'll get some warmer and some black. So we're going to use brown, blue, and black, maybe a little bit of red too, to warm that up a little bit. So we'll make a little bit of warmer dark over here, like that. So some warmer dark over here, and then some cooler bluish dark over here, like that. And we'll start doing the darker shapes of the windows underneath here. And again, if you want to get really good neat, smaller details in your painting, you have to dry off your brush a little bit. So you go in, you load your brush up with paint, and then you tap off a little bit of the paint on a tissue. This way it dries off a little bit of the paint. I added too much paint there, so I can lift up, start again, and there we go. And then you can just, again, you fill up the brush with paint, tap off a little bit of the paint, just so you don't have too much on there. And then we have our shadows underneath the awnings there, like so. That looks pretty good. And we can do some shadows under the windows here. And this is maybe an old stone building or stucco. So I'm doing my darks first, you can see that. That's all, we get our darks in. Then maybe we make a little bit of a yellow and orange with a little bit of our warmer brownish, bluish, reddish. So we just mix around a little bit of a color, get ourselves a little bit of a warm shadow color. You can always dry off a little bit of paint. Maybe a little bit of more red in that. Yeah, that looks better. So we're getting ourselves a little bit of a golden reddish color for the bottoms of the doors areas. So they're a little bit warmer colors like that. And then maybe there's lots of shadow there. Then over here, maybe the windows, we're going to have a little bit of a cooler blues, some cooler blue for our windows. So here you just mix up some blue, and you can mix up a little bit of that grayish color just to mix it up a little. Maybe some green too. Some green always looks good in windows. It picks up the colors of the trees around. So you can mix in blue and green. Always looks good in your window colors, I've found. And there we have it. Okay, so you can see we're doing our darks first. And then maybe we'll do some red stripes for our awnings here. So we'll get some really good, nice reds here. Let's make sure not too much water, just mostly paint. And then we're going to dry off our tissue a little bit so we don't have too much paint on there, so we can get those fine red stripes. So let's do that. Let's get our red stripes for our awning. And there we go. I'm not fussing around too much. You can see I'm just getting those red stripes on there. Like that. And then a couple over here. And that looks pretty good. And there we have it. We're already in really good shape now with all of our windows and doors. We'll add our other windows, and we'll actually do some shading over here, but we want to add some more color to this overall. But let's keep going. We'll use that red there, orange and that red, and a little bit of brown, and we'll make that kind of that clay tile roof color, orange and red and a little bit of brown, like so. That looks fine. You can mix up a little different variations as you go. Maybe a little bit of green in there, just to gray it down a little bit. I'll paint around the chimneys. That's always really helpful. I'll rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of water on the tissue, and then go in and get that red again. So we want to get back with our red there. So we have a mix of colors. I went over that chimney area a little bit too much. Let's see if I can lift that up. So you take a tissue sometimes and you can lift up a little bit of paint. Okay, I did that. It looks better. There we go. That's another little tidbit of fun and tricks that you can learn with watercolor, is using a tissue to lift up your paint once in a while. If you see you've added too much paint, no problem. You go in there and use a little bit of the tissue or paper towel, Okay, let's get in here and do some darker darks. Dry off a little bit of the darks on the tissue first, and then go in. And we'll do a shadow under there. Look at that. You blend that shadow right in with the roof. And then another stroke this way. What I do is I just make sure I'm not leaning into any of the paint over here with my right hand. I rest my hand on the paper, and then as I'm resting my hand on the paper, then I just touch down the brush to the paper and then just slide the brush over a little bit at a time, and that gives me that line there. So that's a great technique to use when you're doing watercolor, is just resting your hand on the paper and carefully getting in your lines, your angles. And we need some more of that red roof color over here. Let's do it a little different. Let's go with this color, maybe a little bit different than up top. So we're just going to add a different color to this down here. But similar, that's similar. There we go. And then another little bit of shadowing underneath this roof here, like that. I rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water, pick up a little bit of this. And we'll just do a little bit of shadowing under this part of the building. It's a little bit of some design. These are bands, stone bands that go around the building. That gives the building a little more interesting look. And when we do that, it looks really good. And let's get some blue, purple, some of that brown, black, a little bit of the black. And let's see if we can get a good road. Look at that road color. Perfect. Look at that. And you can do this. You can make an angle on it. Change up. If you draw something in and you don't like that, you can try doing a different shape. And then here we can do maybe this is a crosswalk here, so we can just do some lines like this. Like that. Perfect. That's one thing fun about watercolors. You learn this as you go. If you're new at watercolor, you're going to learn that sometimes you just have to change your game plan a little bit and try something new. Go for the gusto. Just just go with what you think might be like a good something to put into your painting. You might not have thought of it before you started your painting, but then you realize when you're painting something, oh, that'll look better. You just go ahead and do it. Don't worry about it. You can always start another painting 10 minutes later. There's always another painting you can start creating. So if something goes wrong in any of your paintings, you can just start another one. No big deal. You flip over the paper and you start painting on the other side of the paper and keep practicing and keep going. Don't ever let stuff bother you with watercolors. You just keep going. Keep painting, keep drawing, and you will have lots of fun. So here we've got our road in here, and we can add a little more variation to that. We can go over with another little bit of wash here, like that. Look at that. So I'm just going over with a little bit of a darker wash there. And it'll dry lighter. Trust me, this is going to dry lighter. If you want to blot up a little bit, you take some tissue. You blot up a couple spots maybe, like that. And then go back in and put a couple lines over that. And there you go. Okay, look at that. Wonderful. All right, so we've got quite a bit of this done so far. We're going to take another break. I always like to take breaks. You'll hear me say that. If you're a brand new watercolor artist, maybe you didn't even start yet. Maybe you just started today, or you're going to start tomorrow. Doesn't matter. You'll always hear me say take breaks, because when you're painting and drawing, it takes a lot of concentration. So usually your brain gets a little bit tired as you're working, after 15-20 minutes, so it's best to just give your mind a relaxation time of maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then you come back and start working again. That's all. Really helps a lot. So I'm going to take a break, and we'll come right back, and we'll keep working on this gorgeous cityscape painting with this lovely building here, and we'll be back in just a few seconds. Okay, we are getting started again, and we're just letting this dry. So we're just always keeping in mind taking breaks is very beneficial. It serves many purposes. One, if you take a break for 5-10 minutes, you get a little bit of a rest. You'll be better able to concentrate as you come back and work. Two, when you take a break, you're able to sometimes come back, many times come back to your artwork, your painting, look at it and go, oh, I think I want to do this or that, and you start to game plan a little bit more. So if you're stopping and going, taking breaks, you're going to game plan more. You're going to come back to your painting and go, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to go with some blue sky here, or maybe I'm going to go with some cloudy, gray clouds, or you know, you start game planning and thinking about things before you're just taking paint and putting it on the paper. You know, it's really helpful. And the third thing taking breaks does is it will actually help you to kind of like see maybe some things you can fix up with your painting that you can kind of keep track of and go, all right, now that I know I'm working through this painting, there's a couple things I have to go back and fix a little bit, and you'll start to remember those things. You might even jot it down on a piece of paper, or most times you'll just be able to remember it. You know, we'll say, oh, I remember I painted over this chimney. I have to use a little bit of white paint to go over this chimney to clean that up a little bit, and make it look a little better. And anything else I remembered, I say, oh yeah, I got to remember to put those little tiny little marks by the windows on the side of the building, because you can barely see them, but they are there, and I want to put a little bit of markings on the side of the building. So these are things too you'll remember. So those three things are the real main reasons I take breaks, is it gives you those three additional game planning, keeping track of some things you might need to fix up, and as well as getting a little bit of a rest so that your concentration level is better and less fatigue and mistakes on your painting. And now we were just looking here when we first started this video. I did have some different brushes. So these were more like round brushes, flat brushes. So you can see here, we're going to use this one here to do a little bit of washing on the building. So we'll use this one here. Flat brushes work good. I'm going to put some water on that. I'm going to change my water. My water bucket's a little bit muddy, the water. Let me change that out. Is that okay? I'm going to change out my water quickly here. Okay. And, okay, so I cleaned off, I put new water in my water bucket. And I don't put all that much in my water bucket. I might put about an inch of water in the bottom of the water bucket. This is an old canteen I use. And I just put about an inch or two of water in there, so I wouldn't fill it all the way up, just enough. A couple inches is fine, and then when you dump it out, you just put another couple inches back in again. And that works great, because you're always keeps you like reminding yourself you have to change out the water on the water bucket. And you can use a glass or a coffee cup, whatever you have for your water bucket. So let's get some blue sky in here. I'll just mix some up here. So that nice, beautiful cerulean blue type sky there. Color. Maybe a little bit of the darker blue too. We'll mix it up. We don't want to go with just one color. Let's make our sky a little more exciting. So we use a little bit of a darker, kind of like a French ultramarine blue. And then we have again the kind of like the cerulean blue there. And then we might add a little bit of our muddy mixture, just to mix a little bit of that in there too. Not too much, and not too much mixing. Just put a little bit in there, and that's it. And then we'll just put some on there. Pick it up, put it on there, scrub it on, paint it sideways, this way, that way. There you go. We're just going to be careful not to paint over the building. So once we do this, then we start to say, okay, I'm going to paint around the roof. I don't want to paint. So I'll do some darker wash up there. Then I'll lighten it up. I use my tissue to take some water off the brush. And now I'll just use this to, like that, so the sky lightens up down. The sky is lighter down here by the ground level, and you can even take a touch of orange and put a little bit of orange in that wash along closer to the ground. That looks good. And we try to keep ourselves going here. Carefully I go around the chimneys. Like that. If you leave a little bit of white paper on top of the roof, that'll be an advantage. It might look like a little bit of light bouncing off the light, kind of like some light bouncing off the edges of the roof. That always looks good. It kind of gives it a little bit of a sparkle looking look to the painting. Look at that. So we got our beautiful sky in there. Now we're going to try to add some gold color. So let's go with some yellow. This is like a lemony yellow. Let's add some cadmium orange. So we're going to try to make this yellow a warm yellow, like that. Maybe a little bit of brown. A little bit of brown mix in there too. So we're going to make this kind of a golden color building. That looks pretty good. And we're just going to try to paint around the windows. We don't want to reactivate that paint. So let's try to paint around the windows. And you can leave some white paper here and there. It doesn't have to be perfect. So if you have white paper here and there, no big deal. Adds to the interest of the painting. Like that. Okay. There we go. So we work around the awnings, around those windows at the lower part of the building. There we go. Good. Maybe we make this other area a little more, with a little more yellow. Just a little bit of a change. If you find you're having a hard time getting the good color you need, you just can. So this is a little more yellow. Looks good. Similar. Okay. Okay, and this is looking good. And I'll put a little bit of that lemony yellow on some of these stripes on the roadway here, the crosswalk areas, just so it lightens or puts a little bit of the yellow color that we have around the painting. So it kind of blends together better, the whole painting, as we're looking at it. So I took some more of this. We're going to make the chimneys. I dry off a little bit of the paint. We'll do the chimneys here, like that. There we go. That looks fine. Now, we're going to add a little bit of shadowing. Let's take some of this blue and let's add some shadows over here. Again, I'm painting around the windows and awnings. I'm not painting over them. And I'm just going to do an angle. So I'm going to make this shadow sort of like an angle here, like so. Like that. So I put a little bit of shadow on the building over here on this side. And I'll put some over here too. And then we'll do the same thing, a little bit of that, more of that purple and blue. And I'll put some on the awnings, a little bit of shadow on the tops of the awnings, like so. And a little bit there too. Okay, so we've done a lot of work so far, and we're just going to put a little bit of color over here on this side of the building. Just like that. And that can be, we'll let this dry and we'll do some more details over here on this side of the building, but we kind of have the majority of the building completed. We added a little bit of shadow on the front. And if you don't like the shadow, you know, you can paint another painting and you just leave the shadow out and just do it, you know, like all straight paint. So I'm just going to put some of the shadows in here, like that. And it's all just fun, getting used to the paints and the paper. You'll try some things, you'll decide you don't like to do certain things, you'll do other things. Maybe you're going to want to wait until each wash dries a little more. I'm working in this a little bit too quickly, so it hasn't come out as good as I thought it could. So that's another thing you can always keep in mind. If you try painting over damp paper, it always winds up giving you a hard time, so it's better off letting things dry as you go. Definitely a big tip. And that's why we did that with this and this one here. This one we tried to paint a little more all at one time, and we tried putting in washes too soon, and then I didn't get the good color I was looking for there. But in any case, still looks good for just doing a beginning painting for a nice streetscape, doing a nice building here, a good looking building with some windows and doors and awnings, and you have fun with this one too as well. And we'll take another break, and then in our last painting, maybe we'll do like some flowers. So we'll do a little flower painting here to kind of finish up. So we've done a lot of different stuff today, and I hope you had a great time with us here, and we're going to continue. We're going to still do one more painting. We're going to do a flower painting here. So if you want to, let's work one more painting. We'll take a break, and we'll come right back, okay? Okay, we're back from our break. We take breaks here. They're going to really serve you well, so please take breaks. Don't worry about it. You're not going to lose any time out. It's going to actually help your paintings a lot better, get a lot better. So we'll do some flowers next. First thing I want to do is we'll just clean up our palette a little bit. So again, we do the same thing. We dip our paper towel in some clean water from our water bucket, and we just get do like a quick once over, loosen up the paint, moisten it up, and then we come back with one more. I try to conserve my paper towels. I take them and I tear them in half. So I quarter them really. If it's a full sheet, I quarter them, or I just tear a half into a quarter. And this way, conserve a little bit on my paper towel supplies. There we go. And we are going to start our flower painting next. So here, maybe we'll use our pen. So we'll take maybe we'll use an office pen. Let me see if I can find my office pen over here. Oh, well, you can use a pen if you want. I think I'll use a pencil. The reason I like the pencil is I do have the option of erasing if I make an incorrect line, but I do draw a lot with pens. But for this, when we're going to do a watercolor painting, we need maybe some more options, so that's why I'd like to go with a pencil. And okay, so I'm just going to do something from memory maybe. Alright, I'll do this one from memory. I'm just going to do a single flower. And I'll do it right in the. We'll do it right in the center of our picture. So we'll just make a nice. get the center of the flower there. I'm just going to do a flower from memory. And we got the center of the flower there. Let's just go with that. We'll have fun with this. Okay, so once we have this done, we'll just do a little bit of color for our flower, and then we'll just do a little background color around that flower. And we'll do this one with the round brush. So we're going to use our round brush that came in our watercolor set. And we'll make this flower maybe some beautiful reds. So that's like a nice kind of a rose red color, like a rose madder. That's a color when you eventually get to buying some tube paint, you'll notice there's some really beautiful reds. There's cadmium red, there's alizarin crimson, there's also rose madder. This looks like a rose madder. It's really light, like a nice light red. A little bit cooler. It's got a little bit of purple in it, very tiny bit of purple. It kind of looks a little bit very light, very delicate. Looks great with flowers, so we use that. And then we might use a little bit of this here. This is like an orangey red, kind of like a cadmium red. We can mix that into to give us a little bit of variation. Then we'll go with our cerulean blue there, with a touch of brown, just to muddy it up a little bit. If we need some grayish looking, and then a little bit of the red to mix it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, I think we have plenty here to mix our paint. We have plenty of, put our colors out first, kind of think about as we're gonna, what color we're gonna make the flowers, and then we pick it out and say, okay, we're gonna use that really beautiful, very light, delicate red. Then we're gonna go in and add a little bit of that kind of orangey red. We put that there. And then we're going to add in some blues too for some cooler touches, some shadowing to the flowers. And we'll get started here. Let's go over with a nice light wash the whole way. So we're just going to go right around. Don't worry about it. We're going to get a wash on all of the flowers here. You can go over the lines too. That's not going to matter. That's fine. I'm going to do a little splashing like so. And we're going to start infusing in a little bit of the center of the flower. It's going to be some touch of brown, a touch of yellow, a touch of orange, a touch of red. There we go. And we're going to add some more yellow over here, like that. I think that's going to look better. So we add some of that golden yellow color, look at that. And I just kind of get it on there. Looks good. We could add in a little bit of the blue. That's cerulean blue for a little bit of coolness. You can blot it up if it's too much, but that looks good. A little more cooler shadows over here, so we'll start to put in some shadow colors up here. The best thing though too is, remember with watercolor, in the beginning when you're first starting out, your best bet is to work probably in glazings. So you get your first light wash on like we just did here, and then let's take a break. Let this dry for a few minutes, like 5-10 minutes. You can blow dry it too if you have a blow dryer. You can blow dry it, and that speeds up the process. If you blow dry this for like 1 minute, it'll dry it enough that you can start working over the top and add in some different shadow colors. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to take a quick break and get my blow dryer. It makes a ton of noise, so instead of me trying to shut off my microphone and all that kind of stuff, it just takes too much time, and we're going to just take another break, and then we'll come right back in just a second. And but I will blow dry this here, so this will give me the nice dry paper and paint, and then I can go over the top, and there won't be any mess and all of that colors just going everywhere and flooding all around the paper. And I always mention too, please, if you haven't subscribed yet and you really think you're going to start painting watercolor, and you know, please subscribe. Right down here on the right hand side there's that button, subscribe. And I always mention, well, I mention that all the time. I want everyone to subscribe so you can paint along with us and have a great time. Please do that. But I want everyone to type 1 if you're a beginner and you haven't really painted, or you're just starting out, maybe you've only been painting a week or two. If you type 1 into the comments section below in this video, if you type in the comments, just type 1, or you could type in and say, yeah, I'm just starting out for the first time. Hi Chris, how are you? Fine, anything. But if you don't really like to get into a lot of typing and all that kind of stuff and sending messages, no problem. If you just type in the number 1 and hit send, then this way I know that you're brand new at watercolor and you want to see more videos like this. If not, then I probably won't do too many of them. But if there's enough people that want to see beginner type watercolor videos, again, I'm going to add them into my routine, but I'm not changing my normal routine. That I want to just make sure everybody understands. This is just a little additional paint videos I might do for people that are just starting out, so you can kind of learn some of the fundamentals. We might cover some gear, some different brushes, different colors, different palettes. We'll start doing a little more, getting some of you newer students that are just starting out, or maybe are on the fence and you're not sure if you're going to start. We'll get you started so that you really feel comfortable and you can get going and start your watercolor painting and drawing, and you'll have a great time of it and you won't be confused on things. We'll get you up to speed fast, and then once you're a couple weeks or a couple months of the beginners videos like we're going to do, you'll be fine. You'll be on your way. You probably won't need, you can just watch the regular videos we do all the time and start painting along our regular paintings that we do. And you can check out all my paintings on YouTube. You just type in my name and whatever subject you want to see. So if you want to type in Chris Petri boats, you'll see probably 25, 30, 50 boat paintings, and you can do any one of those along in the video. Or if you want to type in Chris Petri landscape paintings, you'll see all those. Every type of painting you can imagine, I've done a lot of them, especially anything oceans, beaches, boats, landscape paintings, figure painting, seascapes, cityscapes, architecture, figures, portrait work, you name it. Everything watercolor, and we'll have a blast together. We'll have a great time. So let me just take a quick break and let this dry, and then we'll come right back. Okay, we're starting up again here, and we're going to finish up this flower. So what we said here was, once you start your first wash and you put that first light wash of, let's say we use the really beautiful, nice, it looks like a rose madder or alizarin crimson, if you were to liken it to a tube color, watercolor tube paint, you'll see that it's very light, looks really delicate pink, very good, very nice looking color, nice and light. And then we have to let this dry 100%, so I took my blow dryer while we took a break and totally dried this 100%. So now we can go over with a darker color and do some of our shadowing. So let's do our shadowing. So we'll use that same color, the rose madder. We'll just darken it up a little bit. So we're just going to add some more paint. We're going to darken it up a little bit, maybe a little bit of brown in there, maybe a little bit of the blue, kind of make it a grayish purple. And then we'll just get some shadowing going in there. And I'll just tap a little bit of paint there. That. And a little bit of color there. So put a little bit of color here and there. I rinse off the brush and then dry off the brush on a tissue, and then just sort of lightly mix around some shadowing. And then here we have the same thing. We have some extra bit of shadows over here. Let's kind of get those in. When you're doing your shadows, you can always mix in a little bit of blue. Then I rinse the brush off, dry it off on some paper towel and blend it in a little bit. You can blend in that blue. You can put a little bit of blue in there. Like that. And there's some more shadowing over here. So I'll just put some shadowing there too. So these are the shadows underneath the petals as they're curling over at the ends of the petals. They're kind of curling over in towards the flower, and then they create the shadow there, and that looks good. And then we're going to start putting in some green. So we'll go with some green here. We'll mix couple different greens. Mix up some brown in there. Maybe some orange. See what kind of green we can come up with. That looks pretty good. And then we'll just start putting in some greens into the in between the petals. And that's what we're going to do, is just make a little bit of green and a little bit of splashing. Mix up the greens, lots of different, we have how many different greens here? One. We got this green here, it's like a bright green, like a sap green. Then we have like a leaf green, like a very bright green. Then we have maybe a little bit of brown mixed in there. And then we have some cool green, like some cerulean green. And that's what we want to do, is we just want to pretend there's some twigs, and just like this, nothing too fancy. Don't get too, put some splashes on there like so, do some splashing, and we're just going to pretend there's some here and there. It doesn't have to be everywhere, just a couple spots. And that's all, and that just becomes the some interesting shapes and color around the. There can be some leaf forms there. That's pretty yellow and orange. Makes a nice. Kind of a warmer green, like an olive green. So that looks pretty good, like that. But I would definitely leave some white paper. I wouldn't do too much more than what we're doing right now. You can lift up some paint if you have to. If you put too much on there, lift it up with a tissue and then let it dry, and then come back later. So that's the thing, you can always come back later with your watercolor brush and have a great time of it. You can add some cooler blues here. You can add a little bit of dark, some really dark, couple bits of dark blue with green mixed, like that, just to give it some different color. So blue-green does look good. This is the creative process. You have fun with this. You get creative, splash, you know, smooth some paint around. Blot up a little bit if you want, like that. And that's our flower, a beautiful pink flower here. And you could add a little more red here and there if you want to add just a couple more touches of color just to make it a little more interesting. You can do that. And let the paint mix and mingle. And then I just blend it around a little bit here and there. Leave the white paper If you see some white little bits of white paper, that looks good to just leave that. That looks like little sparkles of light in there. But that's really just a little bit of a fun with the flower type painting. Have a lot of fun with this too. And again, if you're just starting out, this is the perfect time to just experiment, try all different kinds. You might want to start painting a lot of flowers if you really like painting flowers, and you might let these other ones go for a while and just say, well, I'll go back to these maybe a couple months or even a year later. I just want to focus on flowers right now because that's what I'm really passionate about. I really love flowers. Or you might love boats. Stick with boats. Keep painting boats. Find different pictures of boats. Do nothing but boats. You know, maybe just take one subject matter that you really, really enjoy and just keep painting that and drawing that over and over and over again and painting it as well. So you can just keep doing series of boats. You might do all boats and just keep doing boats, drawing them, painting them, fill up a whole big pad full of boats, and then maybe say, well, I need a change. Then you can maybe go and try something like some landscape paintings with some trees and mountains and tons of fun stuff out there. I have a lot of videos too in my archives on YouTube, so you can go back and look at some of those. But the main thing is if you are just starting out, please let me know and type that 1 into the comments section so I know there's many of you that might want to learn more about the beginning of starting out with watercolors and the little tidbits of information that might be helpful for you. And we'll have a great time of it. If not, well, you're going to be able to watch me on my regular videos, and we'll just keep going along as we go. All right, everyone. We'll see you on the next video, and happy painting, everybody.